We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
Thank you, Marisol. Good morning, everybody. I got to change the view again. Hold on so I can see you all. There you are. Good morning. Welcome to the sanctuary. Good to be with you all. It's amazing how much joy and excitement I get just being here with you. So thank you for joining us this morning. Glad to be with you. The homily we're going to be sharing today is called Where the Thorn Gets Removed. And that will be our intention for today, is to be conscious of allowing the thorns to get removed. So while we gather together, we are going to listen to our first song, which is We Are Awakening with Deborah Pramal and Mitten. And Marisol's going to play that for us while we greet each other on the chat. Yeah, Lynn wrote in the chat, love the song, always brings peace. Yeah, I feel that too, Lynn. Just helps me to just smile and be grateful that I'm here. So I'm not denying the tears that are coming, which is the basis of today's homily. So first, I'd like to share with you our purpose. At Awakening Together, we share a common purpose. We are an assembly of equals, joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and rest in its embrace. So each time we are asked to give a weekly gathering, one of the things we're asked to do as part of the service is to pick one of the 5 core values that support the purpose. And while they're intended to be contemplated together, often one tends to rise to the surface when a weekly gathering is being given. For me this week, the core value that came up was number 5. And that core value is we accept all forms as temporary appearances, permitted through enduring awareness of self, capital S self. We live this value by honoring all appearances and all experiences while continually reflecting on changeless truth. So first, I just want to say, before we get too far in this, if you were expecting to have Reverend Meg today, she was unable to be here today. And so I got the opportunity to give a homily. This is the first homily I've given since shortly after my mother passed. And so I'm very excited for the opportunity to share what's been most alive for me these days. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who scurried around to be flexible and make things happen and try to support. So thank you all. And let me just tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing today. If you didn't get a chance to read the description, I'm going to read it for you. Like I said, the title of this is Where the Thorn Gets Removed. So during last week's weekly gathering, Regina's message focused on helping us to see what thought is, to know what thought is, and to be clear about the fact that thoughts are what the programming within us follows. And if you're not clear about that word programming, essentially from a very young age, we are in what's called a theta state. And all of these messages get given to us, and we are in a state of absorption, just absorbing. So these thoughts were actually programmed, these thoughts that we pay attention to were actually programmed into us. We didn't choose them. They just happen to show up as part of the habitual patterns of humanity. So being clear about what a thought is incredibly helpful. But when the rubber meets the road, and the stored pain from believing these thoughts over and over and over again comes up, sometimes it can feel like it's too much to handle. And while this is just another thought, in the heat of the moment, one of the thoughts that I often notice doesn't get seen is just this. This is too much. I can't handle it. This thought, when seen, is the path to surrender. This is where the thorn gets removed. So that is the basis of our homily for today. Before we get into the meat of this, we've got some announcements to make this morning, and I'd like to invite Jacqueline to make our first announcement.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for taking a break from the retreat to do that. Appreciate you.
So typically at this point in our order of service, we have an opening song. However, today we're going to do things a little bit differently. I'd like to share a prayer with you, which many people I'm sure are familiar with, either because you have come to centering prayer in the mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern time on the weekdays and 8 a.m. Eastern time on the weekends, or because you've just heard of the welcoming prayer in your life, in your practice. We are actually going to use the welcoming prayer as a way to center while we are listening today, and especially while we're listening to the first song and watching the video. So if you would join me in this prayer, this is the welcoming prayer, and it is by Father Thomas Keating. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I welcome everything that comes to me today, because I know it's for my healing. I welcome all thoughts, feelings, emotions, persons, situations, and conditions. I let go of the desire for power and control. I let go of my desire for affection, esteem, approval, and pleasure. I let go of my desire for survival and security. I let go of my desire to change any situation, condition, person, or myself. I open to the love and presence of God and God's action within. Amen. So the first song that we're going to listen to is called Everybody Hurts. And this is by R.E.M. Any of you who are children of the 80s and 80s with me, this was a very popular song back in the day, but it's got a very poignant message for today. And I invite you to open your heart and welcome everything that's being felt as you watch this video. So Marisol, if you would share the song with us. Hardly speak. So everybody hurts sometimes, no matter what. Can we notice that we notice the hurt and just be with it? So I want to say thank you to Judy, who agreed to do the reading for today. We are going to be reading from Untethered Soul, and the chapter is chapter 9 or 8. I don't know, but it's called chapter 9. It's called Removing Your Inner Thorn. And if you want to read along, that is page 81 in the book. So we're going to read part of that chapter. as our reading for the contemplation. Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome. And thank you, Rhoda, for choosing this as your reading today. For me and my experience, these words are so very, very true. And good morning, everybody. Okay, here we go. Chapter 9 of The Untethered Soul. Removing, excuse me, removing your inner thorn. The spiritual journey is one of constant transformation. In order to grow, you must give up the struggle to remain the same and learn to embrace change at all times. One of the most important areas requiring change is how we solve our personal problems. We normally attempt to solve our inner disturbances by protecting ourselves. Real transformation begins when you embrace your problems as agents for growth. In order to understand how this process works, let's examine the following situation. Imagine that you have a thorn in your arm that directly touches a nerve. When the thorn is touched, it's very painful. Because it hurts so much, the thorn is a serious problem. It's difficult to sleep because you roll over on it. It's hard to get close to people because they might touch it. It makes your daily life very difficult. You can't even go for a walk in the woods because you might brush the thorn against the branches. This thorn is a constant source of disturbance, and to solve the problem, you have only two choices. The first choice is to look at your situation and decide that since it's so disturbing when things touch the thorn, you need to make sure nothing touches it. The second choice is to decide that since it's so disturbing when things touch the thorn, you need to take it out. Believe it or not, the effects of the choice you make will determine the course of the rest of your life. This is one of the core level structural decisions that lay the foundation for your future. Let's begin with the first choice and explore how it will affect your life. If you decide you have to keep things from touching the thorn, then that becomes the work of a lifetime. If you want to go for a walk in the woods, you'll have to thin out the branches to make sure you don't brush against them. Since you often roll over and touch the thorn when you sleep, you'll have to find a solution for that as well. Perhaps you could design an apparatus that acts as a protective device. If you really put a lot of energy into it and your solution seemed to work, you would think that you had solved your problem. You'd say, I can sleep now. And guess what? I got to go on TV to give a testimonial. Anybody who has the thorn problem can get my protective device. And I even get paid royalties. So now you've got a whole life built around this thorn, and you're proud of it. You keep the woods thinned out, and you wear the apparatus to bed at night. But now you have a new problem. You fell in love. This is a problem because your situation, it's hard to even hug. Nobody can touch you because they might touch the thorn. So you design another kind of device that allows closeness amongst people without actually touching. Eventually, you decide you want total mobility without having to worry about the thorn anymore. So you make a full-time device that doesn't have to be unstrapped at night or changed over for hugging and other daily activities. But it's heavy So you put wheels on it, control it with hydraulics, and install collision sensors. It's actually quite an impressive device. Of course, you had to change the doors in the house so that the protective apparatus could get through, but at least now you can live your life. You can go to work, go to sleep, and get close to people. So you announce to everyone, I have solved my problem. I am a free being. I can go anywhere I want. I can do anything I want. This thorn used to run my life. Now it doesn't run anything. The truth is, the thorn completely runs your entire life. It affects all your decisions, including where you go, whom you are comfortable with, and who's comfortable with you. It determines where you're allowed to work, what house you can live in, and what kind of bed you can sleep on at night. When it's all said and done, that thorn is running every aspect of your life. It turns out that the life of protecting yourself from your problem becomes a perfect reflection of the problem itself. You didn't solve anything. If you don't solve the root cause of the problem, but instead attempt to protect yourself from the problem, it ends up running your life. You end up so psychologically fixated on the problem that you can't see the forest for the trees. You actually feel that because you've minimized the pain of the problem, you've solved the problem. But it is not solved. All you did was devote your life to avoiding it. It is now the center of your universe. It's all there is. In order to apply the analogy of the thorn to your whole life, we will use loneliness as an example. Let's say you have a very deep sense of inner loneliness. It's so deep that you have trouble sleeping at night, and during the day, it makes you very sensitive. You're susceptible to feeling sharp pangs in your heart that cause quite a disturbance. You have trouble staying focused on your job, and you have trouble with everyone's everyday interactions. What's more, when you're very lonely, it's often painfully difficult to get close to people. You see, excuse me a minute. You have trouble staying focused on your job, and you have trouble with everyday interactions. What's more, when you're very lonely, it's often painfully difficult to get close to people. You see, loneliness is just like the thorn. It causes pain and disturbance in all aspects of your life. But in the case of the human heart, we have more than one thorn. We have sensitivities about loneliness, about rejection, about our physical appearance, and about our mental prowess. We are walking around with lots of thorns touching right against the most sensitive part of our hearts. At any moment, something can touch them and cause pain inside. You have the same two choices with these inner thorns as you did with the thorn in your arm. Surely it was obvious that you would have been much better off taking out that thorn. There's no reason to spend your life protecting the thorn from getting touched when you can just remove it. Once the thorn is removed, you are truly free of it. The same is true with your inner thorns. They can be removed. But if you choose to keep them without being disturbed by them, you must modify your life to avoid the situations that would stir them up. If you're lonely, you must avoid going to places where couples tend to be. If you're afraid of rejection, you must avoid getting too close to people. If you do this, however, it is for the same reason that you thinned out the woods. You are attempting to adjust your life to make allowance for your thorns. In the earlier example, the thorns were outside. Now they're inside. When you're lonely, you find yourself pondering what to do about your loneliness. What is it that you can say or do in order to not feel so lonely? Notice that you aren't asking how to get rid of the problem. You're asking how to protect yourself from feeling it. You do this either by avoiding situations or by using people, places, and things as protective shields. You're going to end up just like the person with the thorn. The loneliness will run your entire life. You'll marry the person who makes you feel less lonely, and you'll think that's natural and normal. But it's exactly the same as the person who is avoiding the pain of the thorn instead of taking it out. You have not removed the root of loneliness. You have only attempted to protect yourself from feeling it. Should someone die or leave you, the loneliness would again disturb you. The problem will be back the moment the external situation fails to protect you from what's inside. If you do not remove the thorn, you will end up responsible for both the thorn and everything you pulled around yourself in an attempt to avoid it. Should you be fortunate enough to find someone who manages to diminish the feeling of loneliness, you will then begin worrying about keeping your relationship with this person. You've managed to compound the issue by avoiding the problem. This is exactly the same thing as using the apparatus to compensate for the thorn. You have to adjust your life accordingly. The minute you allow the core problem to stay, it expands out into multiple problems. It wouldn't dawn on you to just get rid of it. Instead, the only solution you see is to try to avoid feeling it. Now you have no choice but to go out and fix everything that affects it. You have to worry about how you dress and how you talk. You have to worry about what people think of you, because that could affect your feelings of loneliness or need for love. If someone is attracted to you, and this eases your feelings of loneliness, you wish you could say, "How do I need to act in order to please you? I can be any way you want. I just don't want to feel these periods of loneliness anymore." You now have this burden of worrying about the relationship. It creates an experience of underlying tension and discomfort. And it can even affect your sleep at night. The truth is, however, the discomfort you're experiencing isn't actually the feeling of loneliness. It's the never-ending thoughts of, did I say the right thing? Does she really like me? Or am I just kidding myself? The root problem is now buried under all these shallower issues that are all about avoiding the deeper ones. It all gets very complicated. People end up using their relationships to hide their thorns. If you care for each other, you are expected to adjust your behavior to avoid bumping into each other's soft spots. This is what people do. They let the fear of their inner thorns affect their behavior. They end up limiting their lives just like someone living with an external thorn. Ultimately, if there is something disturbing inside of you, you have to make a choice. You can compensate for the disturbance by going outside in an attempt to avoid feeling it, or you can simply remove the thorn and not focus your life around it. No doubt your ability to remove the root cause of the disturbance inside of, excuse me, I'll try that again. Do not doubt your ability to remove the root cause of the disturbance inside of you. It really can go away. You can look deep within yourself to the core of your being and decide that you don't want the weakest part of you running your life. You want to be free of this. You want to talk to people because you find them interesting, not because you're lonely. You want to have relationships with people because you genuinely like them, not because you need for them to like you. You want to love because you truly love, not because you need to avoid your inner problems. How do you free yourself? In the deepest sense, you free yourself by finding yourself. You are not the pain you feel, nor are you the part that periodically stresses out. None of these disturbances have anything to do with you. You are the one who notices these things. Because your consciousness is separate and aware of these things, you can free yourself. To free yourself of your inner thorns, you simply stop playing with them. The more you touch them, the more you irritate them. Because you're always doing something to avoid feeling them, they are given the chance. They are not given the chance to naturally work themselves out. If you want, you can simply permit the disturbances to come up, and you can let them go. Since your inner thorns are simply blocked energies from the past, they can be released. The problem is, you either completely avoid situations that would cause them to release, or you push them back down in the name of protecting yourself. Okay, back to you, Rhoda.
Thank you so much, Judy. Really beautifully read and nice and slow. As I was listening to you read it, I could feel this appreciation for the reminders to revisit the fundamentals, to go back to what it is that caught our attention, caught my attention for sure, that called me to the spiritual path. This book was one of the first for me. And this particular chapter, I could feel when I first read this, a lot of self-blame. Like, I must have done this. Oh my God, it is totally my fault. How did I keep paying attention to this? Why did I keep doing that? And when I contemplated this chapter again, I could feel so much gratitude for the lessons that have been taught over and over again. One of those being what's being taught right now in the Keys to the Kingdom, Freedom from the Ego. And that is these patterned ways of being are programmed. They were programmed from a very young age. We didn't put them there. They just are there. And the moment that we know that this is just kind of human experience, this is what happens, there's like, it feels like a decision point. Like, suddenly we've been given the key. Here, you can be free now, because these thoughts are coming in, these programs are reacting on their own accord. And that's the message that Regina gave us so very clearly last week. Know what a thought is. Here's what I notice. when stuff gets difficult, when it gets hard, when we truly forget and all this pain comes, this discomfort comes, this rage, hatred, grief, angst comes, there's this voice inside that says, run. No, hell no, run. But run where? I mean, it's still kind of funny when I hear it, like, run, where am I running to? What, run next door? Maybe I'll go to Hawaii. Will that change it? Am I still going to be there when I get to Hawaii? I don't know. I mean, run to where? I don't know. But there is very clearly a distinct voice that says, God, this is too much. This I cannot handle. This I will not survive. And what I have noticed recently is if I really want to know the root, pay attention to those thoughts that come in the moment that these eyes open. What is there when I'm not quite awake, but I'm not quite asleep? What thoughts are coming in? I immediately notice these, I just can't do this. Not another day. There's absolutely something wrong with me. Like, those are the thoughts that come in immediately. So if you want to know what the root is, what's been getting attention unconsciously, subconsciously, that's what I've noticed. That comes in. Another thing that comes in for me is immediate attention on the body. What I don't like about the body, what is not right about the body, what shouldn't it be like, what is it like right now? Oh my God, where does it hurt again? I mean, it's just these thoughts. Like, if I want to know what is unconsciously getting attention, what patterns are unconsciously playing, that place is like a juicy, juicy point. It's a juicy point to notice. And it's not to notice for the purpose of blame, because this was programmed. These thoughts got attention over and over again. Now we have the opportunity to see who notices these thoughts. And when that feeling comes in, that this is just too much, I can't possibly handle this pain, what are the strategies that come in? Call a friend. Get someone to agree with me. Hey, isn't this just too much? Let me call you and get you to tell me how you just agree this is just too much. Regina writes, blame is just another thought. Yes, it is. It is just another thought. Maybe I'll run to the refrigerator, get something to eat. That's another thought that comes in to cope with, this is too much. I can't handle this pain. So notice that we're noticing. Notice that it's a thought. But most importantly for me these days is allow myself to feel it. Let it come, let it come, let it come. One of the most recent examples that I have been paying a lot of attention to, I mean, anyone who's ever heard Rhoda share about anything knows that one of Rhoda's areas is body image. There's a thing about physical appearance that is directly related to this idea of unworthiness and separateness, and that comes up a lot. And I shared about this a little bit earlier this week. But it's become really clear to me how important it is to not look away, to not try to avoid feeling what is being felt when these moments come that just feel like I can't possibly do this. I can't be with this. Over the last month and a half or so, my youngest son and I have been, he said to me, so this is how I couched it: Mom, you and I'd love to spend some more time with you. How about we go to the gym together twice a week? Turns out, turns out that what he really wanted to do was start being my personal trainer. So I go to the gym with him now twice a week, and we do strength training. It's a really lovely experience. And for the first 4 weeks or so, like this gym is set up in such a way that like if I'm walking on the track, there's no mirrors, and if I'm in certain places doing strength training in the gym, there's no mirrors. Like you can look out the windows, or you can look at the track, or you can look other places. And at some point, I remember Kamel saying to me, I was doing an exercise with free weights, and he said, "Would you like to look at the mirror?" And at that point, I didn't really even notice that I was believing this thought that I can't look. But I very clearly felt the no. And I turned and I made sure that I was facing a direction that wasn't towards the mirror. The habit pattern is just this deeply ingrained no, no recognition that a habit is playing. And what I could see when I was contemplating Michael Singer, was this is a pattern of looking away from what is causing me pain, of rearranging life so that I don't have to feel what I don't want to feel. It's honest to God resistance. So last Monday, we're training in the gym, and he wants to do these different exercises. And he takes me to this place in the gym where there's literally nowhere to turn, that there is not a mirror. Not only is there a mirror, there is a view from every single side of every part of the body. Like there is no looking away, no way to look away. And even remembering it, I can still feel like the shame and the embarrassment and the pain and the self-hatred. They're all thoughts. All of it is thinking. The feeling feels like I can't breathe. I can't speak. Tears, anger, rage, not anger, rage, hate. Like these energies start coming. And the desire to run is so big that all I can do is notice. Now, the funny thing about it is, every time I notice there's an idea that I need to get away from what I'm feeling, like, where am I going to go? Really? Where could I possibly go that would separate me from this feeling right now? As I sat in the gym, doing the exercises, putting on my best I can handle this face. I just watched as this body cried, as I cried. Just let it come. Screw it. Kamel's going to watch me cry. That's what's going to happen right now. But not like it's almost like, thank you for finally having the capacity to feel, to not run, to not say, hell no, I'm not feeling this, to not have anywhere to look away, nowhere to look away. The other thing that I noticed when this was all being played out was the one place that it felt like there was a place to escape to was this, movie in the mind. The mind starts flashing up like all the places where this sort of thing has happened before, and all the people who I've blamed for making me feel this way, like all the things that Michael Singer described, all the people I've avoided, all of the situations in which it shouldn't have been this way. And I could see how that movie is a very attractive place to escape. Escape to the movie in the mind. Escape to the thoughts, the images, the memories, the perpetuation of the idea that there's a me and I'm a victim of this, and it's too much. It's too much. It's such a relief to know that the truth is that thought, I can't handle this is too much, that's the place where surrender happens. Because that is just not true. Looking at the time, I just want to end with literally the first part of what Michael Singer said, because it feels like that is the key. In order to grow, you must give up the struggle to remain the same and learn to embrace change at all times. We normally attempt to solve our inner disturbances by protecting ourselves. Real transformation begins when you embrace your problems as agents for growth. That feels like the most perfect place to stop. So I invite you to join me and listen to this song. This is one of my favorite songs. I think I have played it for every weekly gathering I've had the opportunity to be at in the last year. It's called I Will Wait by Mumford and Sons. And perhaps you'll take that message into your heart of waiting and just letting everything be exactly the way it is, feeling it the way it is, loving it the way it is, trusting it the way it is. Marisol, would you play I Will Wait? That was a perfect opportunity for me to practice something not being the way that I expected it to be. It was a little gravelly, but perfect. Thank you, Marisol. Before we go to the next part of our service, I just want to point out two things that were said in the chat. First is to notice that when we're noticing, it is definitely not for the purpose of blame. This is just what's showing up. And the second thing I want to say is I want to take a moment to express all of our gratitude for each other, for one another, for your presence here today as we gather in the sanctuary to nurture and deepen in our collective journey. We'd invite you to consider whether or not it is for you to support this sacred space with a donation. This is a time during a regular service in a church where the basket would be passed. And if you feel called to make a donation today, Marisol has placed a link in the chat where you can do that. Or if you haven't, she will soon. So now is the time during our service when we give others the opportunity to share, contemplate anything that's in your heart or your mind. If you feel called to share, please raise your electronic hand. Laura Joy, please.
I was trying to donate and then got all discombobulated and couldn't find my hand. So then I realized I had one. So oh, Rhoda, thank you ever so much. And I know I was just writing, because I'm always just bringing it in, and it was like this abandoned, not loved, and just seeing what I did to myself, the thought, you left me, and doing it, with the Father, and just increasing the sensitivity to how loved I am. I just listened to a Michael Singer YouTube that's titled "Love is Not Found, It's Freed," and just how calming the nervous system gets the more that it's just recognized, because if those thoughts have been given subconscious or conscious attention, the juice, the loving attention those thoughts have been given, and still just relaxing enough to calm the central nervous system. And I feel like your homily just continued to encourage, like, where those little bits of that hurt feeling comes in. And I just want to thank you. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura Joy. Appreciate your pointing to noticing this way that we spread this love, that we are loved. Melissa.
Good morning, and thank you so much. What a beautiful homily, and so many beautiful takeaways, and so many points your homily led to in being able to see all the places where we try to look another direction to avoid the pain. And I see it so much in my life, and I've just been loving it. And it makes it really, really, it's like once you embrace this path, you're just continually willing to ask. And I think I'm just going to read what I wrote. Notice the thought, this is too much. That leads to helping me surrender. As soon as I can get to, this is too much. And it helps me to surrender to the universe, saying, you know what? I don't have this, but wisdom does. So guide me through it. And then feeling where the feeling is in the body and all the tools that I've learned from everyone at Awakening Together. And then I can see the thoughts, like you said about Regina's homily last week. The thoughts, I can see them coming. But the difference is now I can allow them and accept them. Yep, those are the thoughts that are coming. That's where it's all coming from. That's the pain. And then seeing them as the freedom to choose the other pathway, like Glenn Ganaway would say, listening to the voice that loves you and trusting the quiet voice that always comes up. And I'm starting to hear a lot more. And it's just such a beautiful homily. And I'm living it. And I'm living it because you guys are sharing it. And I'm living it because your light is so strong. It really keeps me on the path. So thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you, Melissa. I think you just gave us a beautiful summary, a beautiful place to end. Love you all. It is a pleasure. Thank you for just showing up the way you show up, for being a place where this sharing just means the world to me. So I thank you for the opportunity to be able to do it with you. I love you all. Handing this back to Marisol.
You've been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.